Hello. So something quite magnificent unfolded for me today, and the topic of our video this week is about an experience that I had earlier today. I've been working with a client for over 6 years, and he and his brother have been on a very similar journey. They started out moving to the same city together, single and without really any work at all. And both have been very committed to a spiritual path, and both have been working very hard on visioning and doing all the work involved in creating a life that they love. Well, my client's brother in the last year has received an enormous amount of blessing, and things have lined up quite magnificently. He has found his dream partner, he has found his dream occupation, his dream house, his dream car. Everything within a year has really fallen into sync for my client's brother. And my client today was just coming to me in a lot of agony. He has, of course, a lot of love for his brother, but it is intensely difficult for him to see this journey for his brother. And he's, of course, happy for him, but yet deeply torn within in jealousy, anger, and frustration. And he said to me today, I just want to have a breakthrough around this subject. I'm comparing myself to the degree of deep pain. And, ooh, man, this is a theme that is so powerful and just so ready to be explored that I wanted to create a video on the theme of the power of comparison. For at the deep heart of my client, he was really at war and judging a part of himself that was saying, I haven't done the work yet. My brother has done the work. He's done enough visioning, vision boarding, manifesting, meditating, whatever you want to call it, right? He's done it right, and now it's right for him. I haven't done it right. I've screwed up along the way, and it's not right for me, right? So the struggle and the war of comparison. Well, there's two things that are happening right there. And one of them is what happens when the ego gets discontented. So I've talked a little bit before about an unbalanced ego, and I want to dive into it a bit more fully here. The ego is the part of ourselves which is very important. It's the ruler of healthy self-esteem, a balanced sense of good self-confidence, and it's the real part of us that is the survivor, the part of us that's going to get ticked off when things aren't going our way. Whatever way, shape, or form they aren't working out, that's the part of us that's going to step forward and be like, hey, why isn't that for me? And, this isn't working out in my timeline in the way that I want it to. And so what's important to recognize in the situation and circumstance is how his ego was getting kicked up. And so traditionally, when we talk about ego, right, there's a lot of condemnation in our own speaking and our own exploration of it, right? Like, oh man, it's just my ego, right? Instead of cherishing the ego, instead of honoring the ego. So what I was saying to my client today was, can you really step up for and really come forward in rooting for your ego? That your ego has every right to be ticked off. Your ego has every right to be angry and frustrated and annoyed that this isn't going your way right now. And so when he started to do that, which was so beautiful, was that he started to move in this duality, which is a very powerful duality. When we start recognizing and understanding that we are both spirit, which is the connection to everything. When we're in that conscious awareness, then we can also witness the part of us that is ego, that is separate, that is individual, that is the I am. When we start witnessing both of those in our reality, the ego and the connection of everything, we get in a very powerful perspective. We start getting into what's really true. So we started beginning exploring that duality. And then the next step that we started exploring was from that perspective, what is the real truth? And the real truth of this situation is that my client is on his own timeline. He knows that in a very deep level. He knows that intellectually, but we had to look at the facts and go back to the facts that there were so many movements and step forward in his career. And yes, it has not lined up exactly as he know it will. Same thing with his dating. He has met so many fantastic women, yet not quite the perfect one, but he's getting closer and closer. And so as we started going over these facts, right, then the ego starts to get a sense of reassurance and get a sense of data that allows it to really become more calm. And what is so, so, so important to maintain this connection of this duality between what is the ego and that I am and what is that beautiful awareness of everything is to manage the mind. Now, through meditation, through yoga, through time in nature, to really allow yourself to understand the mind is the communication, the verbiage of the ego. And so when we witness that duality, which occurs from a deep sense of grounding, which comes from mind management, and in this situation came from the gift of the comparison, right? So when we're looking at someone else and we're saying, they have what I want, and there's that deep pain within us. The pain is always an indication that which we want is coming to us. And the pain is because what we are wanting is already there on a very deep level because we are one energy. And the pain is the reflection of what is false and what is really giving us the indication of what is an illusion. And so that pain is a wonderful gift and a wonderful blessing for us. All of this comes up when we begin comparing, which we're going to do all the time. So it's kind of like the part of us that goes, well, maybe one day I can just totally choose the thoughts I think. Maybe one day I'll stop comparing. It's going to happen. We're going to compare. And on top of that, we were meant to compare. We were meant to come down and say, ooh, that looks really good. Okay, do I want this to that? Yes, I do want this. No, I don't want this. That in that contrast, it helps us really define what it is that we want and how it is that we can receive it. So the next time that you're moving through your life and you have a sting that goes deep within you, that's like, ouch, there's that gnawing of that emptiness that I feel from not having what I want. Give yourself permission to recognize what is ego. And the more and more that you start recognizing what is ego, the more compassion, the more love that you have the ability to open up and to welcome in. And the more ability you have to say, okay, cool, that's my ego. And that's okay. That's okay. When we understand where the ego fits in relationship to this duality that we have of watching the ego that is part of us, the individual, along with our awareness of something much larger, the divine, that beautiful balancing, we come into an enormous place of grounding and power. I'm setting the intention that from this point forward, you welcome in all the blessings that are there for you in what gets stirred up when we compare. And through that, you become better aware of what is ego and how to love the ego and how to more powerfully live in the awareness of that I am, of that individual perspective in relationship to the way that it is also a part of this experience that we are part of, which is something much greater, much bigger than ourselves and connected into every single experience that we are involved with. Sending lots of love to you. Bye-bye.